Hi everyone, welcome back to Disc Golf Valley Tips and Tricks, and today we're taking a look at the beautiful Ikigai Springs course set in the wonderful country of Japan, and we're going to take a look at some lines that you can use to build up your skill and be able to go after those 3 stars. Alright, we've got a nasty wind to work with today, but let me show you what I usually do on hole number 1. I usually try and sneak through the trees here with a distance skip driver. And in this wind, it doesn't always work. But let's see if we can find a hole through the trees here. Yeah. And that sets you up pretty good for your second shot up the hill to the basket. And if you try and run it, you need to have a lot more disc than what you normally would for this distance. Let's maybe go to our PD here. And I usually, unless I'm a little bit closer, I don't usually try and run the basket because then you can go down the hill and cost you a point. And so I'll just usually kind of lay up. And from here, you could just probably toss it in. All right, the other route that I see people taking a lot is to go around those trees. So you might put your chevron right about there and try and swing around on the outside of those trees. Something like this. The risk that you run, though, is skipping out of bounds. You can see how close we came to the out of bounds there. So if you've got a distance driver that really skips high, skips long, you could run out of room there, run out of space. I think maybe I'll sneak around this tree here. With my lovely new Grace. I don't know if there's much more I could show you on that hole. There are lines that people try and do coming this way and try and go for an eagle here, something like this. I haven't really mastered this, as you can see. I just usually try and be conservative and be happy with my birdie. But even going this way, sometimes you'll get a good bounce, a good skip, and be able to get your eagle this way, sneaking through the trees here. The danger that you risk trying to run the basket from this far back is that you can, skip out of bounds here. And you don't want to do that. So I usually just prefer to lay up here and take the birdie. So even with your fuse, you could lay up. And then just toss it in. All right, moving on to hole 2. And I love the ballista here, the ballista windbreak. Now, I don't know if you noticed, this disc is not a Ballista Pro. There's a difference between the Ballista and then the Ballista Pro. But if you've been playing the 3 stars as you go here, you would have picked this disc up probably 6 or 7 courses back. It comes early. And a lot of people discard it as soon as they get another Ballista. But it's really handy to keep in your bag. It just is the perfect disc for this one. Sometimes it does skip out of bounds, but more often than not, it sets you up nice to the basket. Try it again. the wind, you got to watch that. I usually bring it down in a strong wind, and if the wind is going in that direction quite a bit, I won't put as much anhyzer on it. In fact, I might put just a little on that and have it swing around. And just straddle this tree a little bit so we can see that basket. All right, hole number 2. Next hole here is one that you might find a little challenging, although you should be able to get the birdie on this fairly easy. It's the eagle that people go after that is a little bit challenging here, because this first drive, more often than not, you'll end up in a little brook that costs you a point. The Zeus can make it over, but I found it's almost better to bounce, try and set it up so that it's bouncing before the brook, and you can do that just by not bringing it all the way down. And if this works out, the idea is to skip right across there, and then probably a forehand with another Zeus. The Zeus is probably a bit too much here. Let's try the ballista. And something like that for your second throw. And then that sets you up nice for the basket. Now let's try the fuse here. And usually have to pull it down a little bit more than normal to get it in there, because it is uphill, and of course we get a spit out. But you still get a birdie. And we can try that again, see if we can't get a actual eagle on the board. Now, some distance drivers will make it right across the brook on your drive, depending on the wind condition, of course. And usually, it again depends on the disc you're using, but sometimes putting your chevron right about here and in the right wind condition, you can get all the way across. The Zeus just seems to have problems getting across, though. Well, after saying all that, this one does. Let's try and play it. I think I'll maybe go switch it out to the ballista. Well, that sets us quite a ways back. But we'll give it a try here. Yeah, it's not going to work. I think we'll have to go to the Svei and try and bring it around this tree. Close. So we're getting a lot of birdies on this. All right, let's try our first approach again. Hopefully get a better lie on our skip. And 130. Yeah, we don't really have a good disc to get around. The Zeus is too much, and the ballista isn't quite enough. Maybe we'll just hold up on this a little bit. Well, that worked out pretty good. It's not usually the best strategy to go through the trees there like that. So there you go, one eagle. Okay, this is kind of tricky. Thankfully we got this new Grace in our bag that we got the other day. With this wind condition, I'd usually put it down about here and put quite a bit of a hyzer on that. And have that Grace come around and land right about there. And normally we would use a Rive roll disc here, but since that's no longer available, let's use the Ballista, which has a pretty similar flight path. Well, that didn't go quite like we would like. Leaving us a bit of a challenge throw in. Ooh, thankfully we have that rock there. But that ends up with a par, and we don't like pars. So let's do that again. Let's go for our Grace again, and in this wind condition, probably wouldn't put very much of a hyzer on that at all. Let the wind bring it back around. I've got this nice fence, stone fence on this side to keep your disc from going off into the ocean, which is very handy. For a birdie, let's play it again. The disc to use is the Grace here. There's no other better disc on this particular course. You notice the little red arrow there, that's a Mando. You have to go on the other side of that, to the right side of it, without going out of bounds or going off the cliff. And this disc just seems to be the answer to threading the needle here. And landing nicely on the crest of the hill here. And let's try using the PD, because it is going to fly fairly straight and stick the landing. No danger of it going off the cliff. And still leave us fairly close to the basket. That's one option you have here. For the birdie. Okay, our next hole. This little Japanese arch is actually a triple Mando. You have to go through it. You can't go around. But the Zeus handles it very nicely here. Just love the Zeus for this hole. And just put your chevron pointer about there. Put just a little bit of an anhyzer on that. And it'll swing around and bounce nicely up the hill. I have tried many a disc to get through that Mando, and I'm liking the Zeus the best, actually. Do this again, and just something to note, if you do have a 3-speed wind, you might have to make a little bit more of a compensation here, but a little bit of an anhyzer here just does the trick. Alright, hole number 6. There is a disc that does go through here fairly nicely. It's a river. I just don't have it in the bag right now. So the other option is to go around, and depending on the wind condition, you might choose to go off and around to the right, or you might want to just try and go to your left depending on the wind condition. But I usually like to bring it down a little bit. If you leave it up too high, you're just going to hit this arc. This is not a Mando, so you don't have to go through it. You can go around and just make a note of the wind and maybe put a little bit more of a hyzer than normal in that kind of a wind condition, and just have that swing around, come back, and you do have to get inside the little boundary here or you're out of bounds, and so that's the challenging part about this hole. That we managed to do that, and so now it's just a matter of throwing it in. Play it again. So the wind is in the opposite direction. You could experiment changing to forehand and coming around this way, but I haven't got the best results. Mixed results going this direction, so I'm just going to stick with it going this way and just compensate a little bit on how much hyzer I'll put on it to go against this wind. And I like the way the PD sticks the landing here and doesn't go sliding off the cliff, which can happen here. All right, this one is a little bit challenging to get your birdie, but thankfully we have a disc such as the Zeus, because it really plays this hole nicely. I had no idea that this Zeus was so good until I started using it for this series, and I find that it plays this hole much better than, say, the Rive Big Skip disc does. And so I just use the Zeus again on this. And in this wind condition, we should be fairly safe. You do have to be careful, especially with the Rive here, of coming around too much and going off the bank into the ocean. But I think we'll be okay here. Maybe not. Yeah, see, this is what can happen. More so with the Rive. So when you're playing this second throw, that's more like what we're looking for. So up the hill with your second shot on the Zeus, and if you get this high up, the Zeus is probably a bit too much for your third throw, but often the Zeus is the third throw on this as well, because you're going up a hill so much. It needs that extra strength, but I think we'll be okay with the ballista. And so then this would be our fourth throw into the basket for a birdie. Well, this sometimes happens. You go down the hill, but that can be a good thing, because then you're not as likely to go out of bounds with your second throw. And we'll use the ballista again. And I think we'll toss it in. Now, as I've played the multiplayer, I've noticed that some players seem to go down the hill on purpose. They seem to prefer taking their second shot from down there. But I always seem to found it better just staying up here on the fairway. And I will use the Zeus again And it's this second shot you have to be careful on. And sometimes we're so careful we go off into the woods. But it's not always a bad thing to be up here. You can still come around. I think since I have to come around so much, I will use the Zeus here, especially against this wind. And in for a birdie again. Well, I haven't really shown you one clean, nice one here, so... That's a little bit more normal of a lie. And use the Zeus again. And being down so far, we'll use the Zeus one more time. All right, hole number 8. And the thing to know about this hole is that it is fairly easy to learn how to get a birdie on this hole. It's still something you're going to have to practice based on the discs that you might have available, even to get your birdie. It will require some practice here. But the good thing to know about this hole is that it is possible to actually get an eagle on this one. And it's always nice to get one eagle when you're going for your 3 stars. And so the problem is, again, you're going to be needing the right disc, and we're quite limited on our disc options here. I've tried a number of the discs that we've been using, but I've settled on the Havoc, and you should have this in your collection from a few holes back. We picked that up, and I would say in this wind, put it down about there, and then just pull straight back. And that will naturally go off to the right, but should start swinging around. Well, we didn't get the best bounce on that. You'll still be able to get your birdie, like if you just move around and swing around with the putter. You should be able to come down and approach the basket and pop that in for your birdie. But our goal is to learn how to get an eagle. So let's try this again. Let's try same place this time with a different wind. Maybe we'll put it there. Straight down. And ooh, this doesn't look the best. Like I say, we're a little bit challenged with the discs that we have. But I think it's the closest, so let's just try a few approaches here. Yeah, this looks better. That's kind of more like what we want. So this would actually be the second throw. And that would be an eagle if we had reset. So let's try it again, and this time see if we can't get that eagle on the board. Oh, it's going to hit that rock. Which leaves us back quite a ways. And it's always kind of tough to call here whether you want to go for it when you're back this far, because if you miss, it's going to go in the ocean. Unless you're short, then and it just bounces off, then you're okay. Like that. And that's still a birdie. Okay, feeling good about this. Ooh, no skip or slide. But there you go, one eagle. So I'll let you play around with that and see if you can't learn how to get the occasional eagle on that as well. And that will really help you out. Not only when you're going for your 3 stars, but when you're doing multiplayer or you're in tournaments, you'll find that even the daily, it helps to have that extra eagle. All right, hole number 9, last hole, and I won't lie to you, there's still some challenges left on this course. But if you have a good distance driver, you should be okay. The big skip distance drivers don't always make it, and so you have to kind of go off to your left a little bit in order to be okay. But if you have a extra glide light, like we're being recommended here, a Destiny, that'll be probably more than enough, more than what we need to get across. So let's maybe go for the thing about this Destiny is that it goes so far off to the right, you have to compensate for that. But that gets us across nicely, gives us a little skip. And from here, I would probably go with our PD. Just have it come around a little bit towards the basket. You don't want to go over the edge here, but you get that close, it's just a tap in. Now, if you do not have an extra glide light distance driver, then and all you have is a big skip, you can still manage. It's just a matter of maybe coming a little bit more over to the right. And so let's put a little bit of an anhyzer on this. And the risk you run is skipping out of bounds here. But now let's say probably the grace here. And in for our birdie. Just maybe play it one more time here with the Zeus and see if this is something that's repeatable with the Zeus. This is the first time I've really tried the Zeus here. The Rive Big Skip, I think, actually does a little better here. I think that's... But if I have the option here, I'll go with the Rive Light Extra Glide. And on one or two of my accounts, I do have that option. That's close. Yeah, see, that's what I'm afraid of with the Zeus. See if we can't find a happy medium. I think if we did something like this, we'd still take advantage of the shorter distance, but not skip out of bounds here. Yeah, like that. So, whatever distance driver you have, I would recommend setting your practice mode to hole 9 and just keep repeating in different wind conditions. Let's see, a 101, let's go with the PD. And that's a tap in. All right, well, that does it for our walkthrough of Ikigai Springs, and I hope you were able to pick up a few pointers along the way. I know it's been a little bit longer one this time, so much to show you. Hopefully you will have found some lines that will help you on your 3-star run, and if you're interested to see how I do on my 3-star run on this account, be sure and pop back. That'll be the next video that we record. But for now, we'll say so long from Disc Golf Valley Tips and Tricks. Have a great day.